This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
Red Sea shipping delays and OPEC Plus supply cuts are tightening physical oil markets in Europe and Africa as well as the Brent crude market structure, lending further support to oil futures prices, according to traders, LSEG data and analysts. A sustained rise in crude prices would lift energy, transportation and manufacturing costs and threaten to unwind some of the recent falls in global inflation, just as major central banks are expected to begin cutting interest rates. On Thursday, the benchmark Brent crude futures market structure hit its most bullish since October. The premium of the first-month contract to the six-month contract reached $4.34 a barrel. This structure, called backwardation, indicates a perception of tight prompt supply.
Oil prices fell nearly 3% lower on Friday and posted a weekly decline after a U.S. central bank policymaker indicated interest rate cuts could be delayed by at least 2 more months. Brent crude futures settled down $2.05, or 2.5%, at $81.62 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures, WTI, were down $2.12, or 2.7%, to $76.49. For the week, Brent declined about 2% and WTI fell more than 3%. However, indications of healthy fuel demand and supply concerns could revive prices in the coming days.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
India's crude oil imports rose to a monthly record in January after the Red Sea shipping crisis delayed the December arrival of cargoes from the Americas, data from trade sources showed. The world's third-largest oil importer and consumer also received in January its first cargo of Venezuelan oil after a gap of more than 3 years, as the U.S. eased sanctions on the South American producer, the data showed. India's oil imports hit 5.24 million barrels per day, BPD, in January, up 17% from December and 3.5% higher than in the corresponding month a year earlier, according to the data.
U.S. energy firms this week added the most oil rigs since November, and the most in a month since October 2022, energy services firm Baker Hughes said in its closely followed report on Friday. The combined oil and gas rig count, an early indicator of future output, rose by 5 to 626 in the week to February 23, its highest since August 2023. Despite this week's rig increase, Baker Hughes said the total count was still down 127, or 17% below this time last year. Baker Hughes said U.S. oil rigs rose 6 to 503 this week, while gas rigs fell 1 to 120, their lowest since February 2. Next, we have the top news in metal markets. Global crude steel production in January fell 1.6% from a year earlier to 148.1 million tons, WorldSteel Association data showed on Friday. Crude steel output from China, the world's top producer and consumer of the metal, fell 6.9% to 77.2 million tons in January, the data showed.
Nickel prices were heading for their biggest weekly gain in 7 months on Friday as expansion of Western sanctions against Russia triggered covering of bets on lower prices of the metal. 3-month nickel on the London Metal Exchange was up 0.8% at $17,525 a metric ton at 17:03 GMT after touching its highest since November 10 at $17,600. The metal used in stainless steel and electric vehicle batteries is on course for a 7% weekly gain, its largest since July. It's all about the sanctions risks. Everyone was incredibly short on nickel, so potential risk to supply, from Russia, caused this reaction, said Dan Smith at Amalgamated Metal Trading.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
Chicago Board of Trade corn futures on Friday fell to $4 per bushel in the front-month contract for the first time since November 2020, as hefty U.S. and global supplies weighed over the market. Chicago soybean futures also turned lower on supply pressures and as weekly U.S. exports dropped to the lowest since last May, according to government data. But it is the speed in which corn prices have fallen that has startled growers and market analysts, who say the low prices could impact the U.S. farm economy as producers are finalizing their spring planting plans. That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.